my gosh. All right, we're back, man. I don't even know where to start with this. There's so much going on right now.
Yeah.
I guess I'll say this first off. RIP to the Wildcats. They just announced the XFL is returning, and the Wildcats were not a part of the new 8. They have moved the Wildcats to San Antonio. We'll get into all that later. I was trying to figure out where to start, to be honest with you. We're back for another episode. It's your boy G with Alec. Another great episode of the pod. Make sure you Make sure you follow us online. At the Siri going, she adding herself. Follow us online everywhere. Subscribe to the show. Appreciate all the love, and there's a lot to get to. I'm excited to talk about it with you guys right now. So here we go. Okay. So another great week of the NFL has gone down. Week 13 definitely was a fun one. And jumping into it, usually we start with the Rams, but y'all know what's going on with the Rams right now. There's not a whole lot to talk about. I don't feel like starting with them, but I do want to talk about the Chargers. There's a lot going on with the Chargers still. They're still very much in the playoff hunt. Looking decent at least. They had a loss to get to the Raiders this last week, lost 27-20 to them, and it's a surprising L. That was a game that I thought was at least close to a must-win for that squad, which they did not end up doing. So they're second in the AFC West. They're now 9th in the AFC on the outside looking in of the playoffs. I'm still trying to find their way. What do you think of this Chargers squad right now after that loss to the Raiders?
Yeah, I think I said when we were making our picks last week that this felt like a game that if they're serious about making the playoffs, they needed to win. And as you mentioned, they lost by 7 to a team that's not as bad as they started in the Raiders. It seems like they're trending in a better direction.
Finally.
Finally. Doesn't seem like they're gonna make the playoffs. Like they got an outside shot at it still, but that's a team that is in your division, and if you're serious, like you should be winning that football game. And it was disappointing to say the least if you're a Chargers fan to have that result. I didn't watch this game from start to finish, so I don't know if you saw more of it. You could pinpoint kind of what went wrong there necessarily. But yeah, disappointing. And I think it puts them in a real tough spot to make the playoffs now.
They're definitely a tough spot. Something I noted, that fight for the last spot. Currently, the Jets have that spot at 7-5. And there's a couple teams. There's the Pats and the Chargers, who are both at 6-6. And right below them is the Raiders, Browns, and Steelers at 5-7. So all those teams have pretty tough rest of the season across the board. So they're all going to be scrapping, and a lot of must-win games for them coming up to try to secure that last spot. But the Chargers, with the talent that they have, should get it done. It seemed like a team that couldn't. They just got beat last week. I guess in simplest terms, the Raiders came out and punched them in the mouth a few times with Josh Jacobs in that run game, and then Devontae made plays when we needed most, while the Chargers tried to make plays but couldn't get it done in response. So yeah, it definitely was a tough one. That they needed to win. Yeah. My next question that I'll ask for us is, if the Chargers do miss the playoffs, their top offseason priority should be what?
That's hard. I think sticking to what we've kind of said before, I think they do need an upgrade at the wide receiver position. While Keenan Allen has been better last week, coming back from his injury,
thank God.
A younger for your fantasy team, a younger, talented wide receiver should be a target, because seems like you can't rely on the health of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen week to week. So I think that should be one of the major targets. If you miss the playoffs, a head coach should be the target, as we've talked about. I don't know what the most important thing to fix on the defensive side of the ball is for them, so I can't speak to that. But I think the defense needs to be shored up as well, because teams are able to run on them easily week in, week out.
I pretty much agree with what you said. It seems like just getting some more secure guys on the outside for Justin to go to seems to be the issue. It seems that I guess opposite of the Ravens in some discussions we've had, and where obviously the scheme is more of the issue. They have a scheme that I believe could work. I think Eckler still has enough legs in him that this year and a couple more years beyond can be the centerpiece in the backfield next to Herbert to maintain that run game enough to really get things rolling. They have shown that Gerald Everett and other tight ends potentially could step into those roles and be enough of a presence to have a security blanket for Herbert down the middle of the field at times when needed. Just more so on the outside, having that clear guy. As I say, with the Raiders, when times got tough, they turned to Josh Jacobs, then they hand the ball off, or trying to pass the ball. Derek Carr knew he can go to Devontae, and Devontae delivered. As well as Keenan Allen has been, as we have noted, he hasn't always been, because of injury and things, which is just the reality of the situation, hasn't always been the guy that Herbert has been able to turn to. So having that clear guy, if Allen turns out to be that guy, and he still has the legs for it, and he's getting up there a little bit, age receiver-wise in the NFL. But if he still has legs to do that, then great. But if they can find someone else that's more sure-footed, I think that has to be the solution, because you also mentioned Mike Williams is still out. That's been the history of both them guys. They have shown great flashes. They could be arguably top 10 receivers. Keenan Allen might even say top 5 at times when he's really rolling. But he never played. Those days are over. But still, just saying that they are very good receivers when they're around. But the reality is not around enough to make the impact needed to make this team the playoff team as they should be. So I agree that should be where they look next. So we'll see how they fix that. I'm excited to see how it goes. Again, I've talked about Staley as well and the potential of moving on from him. That's a possibility as well. I've been questioning that all year long, and again, we shall see. What did you have to say there, Alec?
Just real quick, your question to you: do you think they'll make the playoffs?
I don't.
Looking at their schedule, I think they can go 3-2 in the last 5, but I don't know if that's good enough to make it.
Well, the thing is, and I have to pull up the schedules again, but I think I had the same thought for the Jets and the Pats. So if the Jets and Pats also both go around 3-2, the Jets already are above them, and the Pats are tied. I think would have there's some tiebreaker rule, though they haven't played. I don't think there'd be something in place that would potentially have them ahead of the Chargers. The NFL playoff picture I pulled up straight up from the NFL website. Though the Chargers are tied with them, they have the Pats above them. So if that implies that the Pats, if they both have the same record going in, will get the tiebreaker. Then I think the Chargers now are on the just barely on the outside looking in. So 3-2 won't do it. They're gonna have to win a 4th game in there somehow. I know they have the Chiefs, I believe, again somewhere in there, but potentially, or a couple of tough matchups coming up.
Luckily, they don't have to play the Chiefs.
Oh, the Chiefs are already done. They played them twice now, but a couple of tough matchups, I believe, are still on the way. So they're going to have to dig deep some kind of way and get them games done.
Dolphins and Titans in the next 2. Those are the tough ones.
Yeah. So they got to find a way to get for sure one of those and then go from there. So we shall see. But there were high hopes for them, and they haven't achieved. So it is what it is. So tough things there. Flipping to my Ravens first. We'll go back to the LA team at the end. Going to the Ravens, who we've kind of compared the Ravens and Chargers a whole lot recently, just with our talks and just how things gone and comparing, I guess, Lamar and Herbert. Lamar is now out right now. They still found a way to beat the Broncos because the Broncos are the Broncos. So they beat the Broncos 10-9, which has, even with the Bengals looking good, keeps the Ravens above them at first in the AFC North and third in the AFC as a whole. They're 8-4, and we'll see if they can maintain that spot. Lamar's supposed to be out for, they say week to week, but they said it's most likely like 3 weeks. He's going to be
1 to 3 weeks.
I guess there's been talks about contracting still with Lamar. There have been talks about all the things we've said with Lamar all season long. So my first question to you is, do these 3 weeks determine Lamar's fate in Baltimore?
I don't think so, because I don't think they view Tyler Huntley as the future. So I don't know if like his performance necessarily changes what they decide to do contract wise, because I don't think if they took Twitter fans into consideration, then maybe they would see Tyler Huntley potentially as just the immediate replacement for Lamar. But I don't think in actuality that's the case. Like, I think he's a very good backup. Maybe could be a good starter for like a team in transition between quarterbacks, kind of like
Right.
Jacoby Brissett started for the Browns this year.
Right.
But I don't think he's like the franchise guy, with all due respect to him. So I don't think these next few games should determine, especially because like they're playing the Steelers, Browns, and Falcons. Like these are all teams that they can beat. So like
Right.
I don't think if Huntley was to go 3-0 in these next three, it doesn't necessarily prove anything to me either. So I don't think it should affect Lamar's contract. I think he should be paid what he's owed regardless.
I'm going to view both sides real quick. And in doing so, I have maintained that I believe that the Ravens are going to find a way to keep Lamar either way, and they're going to franchise him if they franchise him, or they'll finally give in and give him this money. In regards to the question about the 3 weeks, it was more so that if seeing that Tyler could be potentially maybe not our franchise guy, but a bridge guy for at least a couple of years, that could be proven. Because last year, as great as he looked, I don't think he won a game in any of those in those replacement games when Lamar was out.
I think there was
he
a
might
lot
have won
of close
one.
losses,
There was a bunch of close calls, but when he needed to make a play most at the end, we saw where they should have had Lamar in, or I wish we had Lamar in instead of him. So with that being the case, I do think Lamar still is the clear 1A for that team. I guess the flip side that I was viewing is that seeing that Tyler could potentially be a bridge with young quarterbacks on the way. Again, this is the reality of the game, and always looking forward and how things transition. One, I guess, to the team we have now, I don't know how long this current core stays together. In regards to Calais Campbell's going to be gone soon, and Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters have had a plethora of injuries and things. I don't know how much longer they're going to be around. On the offensive side, Mark Andrews could surely be here for some time, but beyond that whole offense could have a whole new look in a year or two if they decide to do so. So with that being the case, and the last point, my apologies for being long-winded. The last point as well is that seeing the hauls that other QBs have gotten recently. We talked about the Russell Wilson trade. We've talked about the Matt Stafford trade. We've talked about, I forgot who the third one was. Maybe not in the quarterback, but seeing what guys like AJ Brown we talked about recently have gotten in return for them. If you can get a whole haul for Lamar and then have Tyler Huntley as a bridge for a year or two, and then find a new quarterback on the rise. On the USC guys we talked about, if Caleb Williams, all of a sudden we are positioning to get Caleb Williams as our next QB. Like the reality is, you take a look at that. So I think I guess going back to the question to circle all the way around, it could determine Lamar's long-term fate. It may not determine his fate as in next year, Lamar's gone. But if Tyler Huntley shows he could sustain for a little while, I think it opens up some options for this Baltimore squad that have to be looked at. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how these games go.
Yeah, I think the most test-worthy one would be the Browns, like with Deshaun having had a couple games under his belt by then.
The Browns one for sure is, but my mind actually was this week in the Steelers game, because the Steelers game is a rivalry game that's always tough. No matter how good the teams are, they always show up for sure for this game. And I think in wanting to stay atop the AFC North and maintain, wanting to make sure we get this win. I think this one is as much of a test as that Browns game will be when it comes around. So I'm excited for both.
Yeah, they both are. I just felt like the Steelers aren't very good, but
absolutely,
in a way that's a test. In a way, that's a test too. Like, can you beat the teams that you should beat as well? So,
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, very very excited to see how that goes. Any other thoughts on the Ravens right now?
Quick question, like any concern with Mark Andrews at all? I was just saying, like, some of the performances in previous games for like dropping passes and that kind of thing. I don't know.
He is returning from injury still. I have, I guess, made the mistake at times or like fans do, as soon as a guy comes back from injury, it's he's back and playing, so he should be back to top performance. When the reality is, guys have to be eased back, and he clearly is working his way back and finding his way. We did the same thing about Mike Evans. Mike Evans was up and down for a little while. He seems to be at least somewhat better. I think he caught all his targets this last week. At least some kind of progress at least. So just to say that sometimes it takes guys a moment to really get back into full form, and he's still finding his way. And with the offense that I've talked about, the scheme is not exactly perfect, and he's catching passes between a whole bunch of defenders at times, and heavily covered and all that, because there's not a lot of help on the outside as well. To your point about the talent and all of that, I think that I wouldn't say there's worry. I think we should find better ways to get him the ball, I guess. So I think that can be resolved sooner than later.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then one last question. Do you have any concern about Lamar Jackson's durability? Because that was one thing I had concern with him coming in, to more than people talking about, oh, he's a running back kind of thing. I was worried just with his play style, whether or not he would be able to hold up. And this is like second or third injury that he's dealt with that's going to put him out several weeks.
This is second or third injury. And if I can recall, this is for each of the times he's gotten hurt. If I remember this correctly, I know for sure it's this one. He was trying to stay in the pocket.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So it's a thing where he wants to be more of a passing quarterback. He believes he's a passing quarterback, which I think he's a good passer, or better than most folks say. I think he could be a really good passer in this league. But in doing so, I guess neglecting the talent that he does have with his legs, or not wanting to be able to utilize that, has led to the things that have transpired. So I think he's still trying to find the balance in his game to, I guess, reclaim that MVP type level that we first saw of him. And I wouldn't say I'm necessarily worried about the durability. I'm just more about the utilization of him. Like, you want to keep him under in the backfield still, or are we going to allow him to run the ball? Is he going to allow himself to run the ball like we once saw him do? We haven't seen many plays like that play a couple years ago of him spinning around defenders and all that kind of stuff. We don't see him jumping over guys no more or anything like that. Is he going to allow himself to do that, or is he going to be still trying to show that he can throw the ball? So it's more utilization. But I think once he gets back, he can maintain his, I guess, durability going forward.
Okay.
So that's a whole lot of stuff that surely can be talked about with the Ravens. A lot of good stuff there. Excited and glad that the Ravens have a lot to talk about. When they're bad, like the other team we're about to get to, it's no fun to follow. But real quick, getting to this last team, the Rams lost it again to the Seahawks. Lost 27-23. Put a valiant effort.
They almost won that game.
The defense still looks solid. The offense tried their best, but didn't quite have the weapons, of course, as we know, to put up enough of a fight to get the job done. And will surely shortly be officially eliminated from playoff contention, but technically are still in the hunt. And they just signed Baker Mayfield off of waivers. What does that do for you? Any thoughts on the Rams? I don't know what to ask about this Rams squad, honestly.
Yeah, all it does is make me laugh, kind of. People are saying, like, this is a test of Sean McVay, like, how good Sean McVay is. If he can turn Baker into a serviceable quarterback, then he really is, like, a great coach kind of thing.
I would say that if the Rams at least had Allen Robinson, but having their top two receivers out, it's like, what do you want to do? Like, what do we say?
Chronic.
Yeah, come on now.
Tutu Atwell and these guys, whatever.
Right.
I think, like, some people also are saying, like, maybe they did this to prevent the 49ers from getting Baker. I'm the 49ers. I'm like, congratulations. I did not want this.
Please. I know they said that. I saw another report on the other side, which I'll ask a question about Baker. I saw a report that no one else actually wanted him. Like, he went, like, for fantasy folks, y'all know the waiver wire has the list of people, and whoever's top of the list can pick them. The whole list had the option to grab them, and everybody's like, nah, go ahead. y'all be easy. And the Rams were like, all right, fine, and took him. So he went through all the waivers, and the Rams were the only team to really put out any interest and grabbed him. So with that being the case, Baker's on his last legs in the league.
Yeah, he's leading the league in fresh starts. So.
Yeah, at this point, can his career be saved in LA?
like I don't want to like hate, but from what he's shown us to this point, I don't see the turnaround. Guys have been able to like do it and kind of salvage their careers, a la like Ryan Tannehill. Like I feel like that would be like the best bet is like a Ryan Tannehill type situation where he like turns into an elite type game manager. But
I guess I'll further in asking the question. I'm not even when I say I'm not even saying starting. I'm just saying just staying in the league. Period.
Staying in the league.
It seems like he's out the door. If he doesn't work here,
yeah,
no one else seems to be ready to sign him. He might be a wildcat
I think
next time we see him.
I think he can salvage his career as a backup. Just having that second overall pick or whatever he was. He might have been first overall, actually.
He was first.
Yeah. That level of draft capital being used on you, I think teams are still willing to give you a shot as he's leading the league in fresh starts. Right. I think playing well with in limited capacity, like with limited weapons under McVay, like can give him a shot to be a backup still. I think it's clear he's not a starter at this point, but I think he can stick around as a backup. Yeah. And then at best case, be like a Tannehill where he goes from being a backup to a game manager type guy. But
yeah, I agree. I think he might have some, I guess, mental shifts to make. He seems like he still wants a guy that wants to compete and be the leader type guy. I still joke about, like I said a couple weeks ago, him banging headbutting guys with the helmets on and all that kind of stuff. So he still wants to be a leader type guy, but I think he needs to just fall back into that backup type role and try to be the best he could be there first, and then go on. As we see these days, quarterbacks have a lot more life than any other position in the league. So he just sit down, be a reserve for a few years, and then if he finds another opportunity, he can jump from there. Then great. But him trying to be a starter in this league still could end his career.
Mid-white quarterbacks get a lot of chances.
Yeah, they do. So and plus him being the first pick, as you mentioned, is going to keep on getting him opportunities. But I think he's on his last leg right now in that role, and has to be okay being a backup for a little while. To stay around. So we'll see if he can do that in LA. The team, I don't think is going to win much more, but if he shows any kind of promise, he may stick around because we don't really have. Perkins didn't seem that good as much as I wanted to be good. Wofford had one nice moment, which was not recently; it was last year, whenever that was. But I think his time is coming to an end shortly. It appears so. I think it'd be Stafford's backup for a year. And we talked about Stafford might be only have a year or two left. If he can own that spot for a couple of years and then go from there, I think that should be an opportunity he needs to try his best to claim. So we'll see how it all plays out. But that's it for our individual breakdowns of teams. We talk about our LA squads as well as my Ravens, as we always do. Definitely excited for all of that. Again, comment on whatever you got, what stands out from there, and excited to talk about with you guys. Moving on now to our Him Zone things. A lot of good stuff went on this last week. Excited for it all. Alec, you want to start with your not MVP yet again? I got some guys I want to mention too, so we'll see if you mention them first.
Sure. Yeah, let me pull it up. I think it was all QBs this time for the most part. Okay. So the Russell Wilson not him zone. I got Deshaun. Not a great comeback. I'm sure not the comeback he wanted. 12 of 22, 131 yards and a pick. He put up Russell Wilson numbers basically. I believe there will be better days. I was going to say I'm sure. I'm not sure. I don't know if he'll be able to get back to the Deshaun he was before. But he has a good team around him. Like he was still able to get the win even with a pretty bad QB performance with the rushing game around him. So they might not need him to be that. But at this point, he is not him yet.
As I said, I had a few guys on the list I wanted to mention as well, and he was on there. And it wasn't because of Russ, because after a year and a half or however long it's been, Russ was going to be a factor. My issue with it is that they gave you pretty much a layup against the Texans. The Texans are now the worst team in the league. You're not going home versus them. It's like, hey, you haven't played in 2 years. Your first game is going to be in your old home turf. You can go against this worst squad and at least give us a touchdown. And he couldn't even do that. So it's like, bro, like you got to give us a little something. So that Russ definitely did not look good. I think he also threw an INT in that pick in that game. That even though the Browns defense and special team saved him, he did not look good in that. So I'm fine with him being on the list as well.
Save Miles too.
Right.
Russ, I have on here, hit 189 yards, no touchdowns, and lost to the Ravens without Lamar for
Had
much
to
of
be
the
on
game.
here. Come on now.
Like, yeah, he only has 8 touchdowns on the season through 13 weeks. I saw a stat that like Carson Wentz still has more touchdowns than him, and he hasn't played since week 6.
Do you think he's ever going to get more than the bathrooms in his house that you kept pointing out?
It's legitimately going to come down to the wire. I don't think he gets there.
That's sad, man. 12 touchdowns with that offense, like it's not even like he has weapons there.
He's got 4 weeks to get 5 touchdowns or whatever.
That's nasty.
He's had multiple weeks with no touchdowns, so I don't know if he gets there. And then I had both the LA teams on here just as a collective,
That's
Chargers
fine.
and Rams.
Yeah.
Both teams came up short. Rams weren't expected to win, but their season is pretty much done. And then the Chargers, just being the Chargers once again, as we talked about at the top of the show, that felt like a must win, and they did get the job done. And then lastly on here, I got people call him Captain Kirk. I got Captain Mid on here. 21 of 35, 173 yards and 1 touchdown against the Jets. They did get the win, but it wasn't because of his play. And this is the second time, at least, that we've seen him against a good to elite defense kind of fold. We saw them get beat down against the Cowboys, and then now against this Jets defense has been really solid this year. He struggled. So I'm not convinced that Kirk is going to be the one to get them a playoff win, to be honest. I think they flame out once they get to the playoffs. So
yeah. I'm totally fine with that. A few people and teams I wanted to mention as well. First off, 3 teams that blew leads or blew games that they could have won. 2 of which, the Saints and the Bears, had 16-3 leads in their games. Saints were up 16-3 with like 4 minutes left against the Bucs on Monday Night Football. And because of they, as people point out, missed the first down and then turnover, and then they blew the last 4 minutes of that game. And Brady found his way. So they lost that in the final minute. And then the Bears, I mentioned as well, the Bears blew that game to the Packers. They were up 16-3 on the Packers early and then folded, and the Rodgers and them came back. I know Rodgers owns that squad. But I also said that Fields played that the Bears could win it, and they seem to be in position to do so. They'll let Rodgers do what Rodgers always does and find a way to get the job done against them. The third team is the Colts. Colts were actually in the game versus the Cowboys.
Oh yeah,
quarters. It was like 19
quarters.
It was like 1917. And really, I wouldn't even say the Cowboys won that game the
defense kind of did for them. But
yes. But it was more so because the Colts gave it to them. They fumbled, they threw pick. Like it was more so Colts mistakes than Cowboys like dominating. So they allowed 33 points in the fourth quarter and blew that game completely out when it seemed decent.
Can't get 50 piece in there.
Three quarters through it seemed decent, and then they just completely folded at the end. So the Colts had to get that. And then a player/team I wanted to mention, Tua and the Dolphins. I'm putting on here.
I didn't want to put Tua on there.
And I'm putting them because yes, Jimmy G went out. Yes, the Niners still have a good, great defense, top defense in the league at this point, it seems. But for this to be a game where we saw as one of our potential Super Bowl type games, this to be a game where this was a prove it type game for the Dolphins. That there were questions about. People said Tua was an MVP type guy. People said Tyreek was MVP type guy. And numbers wise, Tyreek still put up like 190 yards and a touchdown, stuff like that. So numbers wise, he did look great. But for them to lose this game as they did, it seemed like the Niners and the Dolphins were still on different tiers in this game. Even though with the backup QB and all of that, exactly. So because the Dolphins didn't show that they seemed to be the top tier type team that we thought they were, I wanted to mention them in not him segment because I was somewhat disappointed that they weren't in this game as much as I thought they would be. So
I mean, I had the Niners winning it. I thought it would be a little bit closer. I'm fine with the Dolphins being on there. I think Tua was all right, like against that elite. I think this is the best defense in the league.
Correct.
And so he's done the best as far as like QBs going against this defense for most teams. So I think he had 250,
18 for 33,
2
295, 2 touchdowns with 2 picks. And those 2 picks were very costly. So
right.
I
think so. It was hard for me. I thought about it. It was hard for me to put him on, not him, just because of how good that defense is. And he still put up serviceable numbers. Like, they were still in the game, but he did have some plays overthrowing guys, the 2 interceptions too. So understandable if you want to put him on here for sure.
Yeah. So I would mention that. So
he's still a top, I don't know, 5-ish QB this year.
Sure.
But I think he showed that he's not the elite of the elite.
Correct. And I don't think I ever thought he was, but we'll see if he writes that going forward. So good stuff for the not him segment. A couple of my 3 things before we get back to your MVP to end it. First off, best plays. I have a few of them that are in here that were pretty good this last week. First off, Marcus Jones for the Pats caught a screen from Mac Jones, I believe it was. It went 50 yards versus the Bills. I want to mention that first because Marcus was a special teams guy for most of the season leading up to this. And he's also the same guy that that returned the touchdown versus the Jets, I think a week or 2 ago, to win that game for them. So he has continued to earn his spot. The Pats are trying to find skill guys wherever they can find skill guys at this point, and they might have found one in him right now. So salute to him for making the most of his opportunity there. Then a couple other plays, I guess. First off, in the same kind of way I just mentioned, a kick return. Donovan Peoples-Jones, one of the plays that saved Deshaun's performance. The Browns, DPJ caught a punt for 80 yards and returned it back on the Texans. The Texans just couldn't stop them. Besides the offense, they couldn't stop anything else. So that special teams play was very nice from them. And then a couple plays from the same game. Titans versus Eagles. On one end, Treylon Burks, who I said was a nice replacement for A.J. Brown early on, caught a 30-yard touchdown pass from Tannehill over 2 defenders. Got knocked out in the process, but still somehow even completely knocked out, held onto the ball enough to get a touchdown. So salute to him. And on the flip side, Jalen Hurts, who is looking great again, threw a dime to A.J. Brown. I'm going down the sideline, and with the guy completely covered on A.J., still dropped it perfect.
Oh, you're talking about that one.
I mean, it made the touchdown pass. There was one where he was wide open too, which is cool. But the one that he dropped a dime on
he threw a touchdown to him the previous play of the first touchdown too, but it was like slightly out of bounds, and then the next play threw another 40-yard touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. They were on the same page. They clearly had a mission against the Titans, wanted to show AJ's worth, and he definitely did so. So good stuff there from both of them. And then the last one that I'll mention, Derek Carr against the Chargers, flea flicker, had one. Josh Jacobs tossed it back to Derek. Derek threw it over to Devontae. Devontae went, and as he did, mossed a couple of guys and got in the end zone. That was one of a few of his touchdowns, I believe, in that game. So the Raiders have finally flipped the switch a little bit, at least somewhat. Looked like a serviceable team. We said they were last in the league for a while, no longer at the bottom of the league, and looking solid. And Devontae is finally finding that connection with Derek Carr and getting that rolling. So salute to them. As we do it from plays, guys in the end zone and start dancing and things. So best celebrations. One that there's one that just made I couldn't help myself but laugh at that I'll get back to. First off, Zeke got in the end zone as he does now, as the trend jumped in the pot again. Like the Jack in the Box or whatever, cranked it up and he popped out and did his little eating thing, whatever. So that was cool. Justin Fields on a great play. Actually, that could have been mentioned for best plays. He had an option play where he juked out a guy, broke his ankles and everything, and ran for 60 yards. Got in the end zone, did his Dougie. Guys still do the Dougie a little bit, so that was cool to see. Then the third one, Jalen Hurts got in the end zone. I guess a hot take. I think Jalen Hurts has the second best gritty in the league right now. I'll let folks debate that. But he got in the end zone, did his gritty, and that looked cool. Then the one that made me mad, Alexander Madison for the Vikings got in the end zone.
Oh, see, that's what Justin Jefferson was trying to do with his team.
He faked the injury, the hamstring injury, fell on the ground, started twerking for a little bit, and then got up. Like, bro, come on.
I told you that's what JJ was trying to do, but his team thought he was actually hurt. So so
he went to the gritty instead. Yeah, Madison. I was like, bro, because I missed it when it happened live. So I was looking up celebrations and stuff, and when that came up, I was like, is he actually hurt? He fell? Oh, bro. I was like, no way, he just did that. So yeah, I had to mention that as for best celebrations. So good stuff there. And then lastly, best pregame fits, as I like to point out as well. Jason Kelsey had a fit. You ever see 50 First Dates?
No, I think I did see the picture of this, but no.
Yeah, he had a Doug Whitmore fit. Doug Whitmore was the older brother of the girl in the movie. He's like a fake muscle head. He used to wear the backwards hat, the baseball glasses. He had like he had like a football jersey that was like see through. You like see his stomach all poking through and everything. A little fish hook necklace and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he put that all together for this last week, and it was pretty funny. So I've been watching movies a little bit, caught that a while ago, caught the reference before they posted it, and thought that was cool. So shout to him for that. Then some other real ones, just two more. Marquise Goodwin, who's been here a couple of times now, had another great one. Louis V denim fit jacket and jeans that look real good. Some snakeskin Jordan 4s that were great. And then he had this I like the shiesty mask, as I always point out. He had a mask on, and usually it's just like the opening with as it is like circle whatever. It was designed as like a heart, and I thought that was cool. So guys are updating the shiesty mask a little bit. So I like the edit to that a little bit. So that was cool. And the last one was Elijah Moore. He had a green bomber with that camo interior that was real nice. I think it was like an anime shirt. I think that he had on. Had a t-shirt under it, and then some camo cargos with some white Jordans on. They all together look real nice. I don't know how much he's been performing. I know he still has that beef with Zach Wilson and stuff like that or whatever. So I don't know how his play was. Respectfully, I'm sorry I missed the game, but he looked great walking in at least. So salute to him for that.
He didn't do much in the game, but he wasn't bad. Yeah.
Oh well, but looked good walking in. So salute to him for that. And yeah, good stuff across the board for my things. And now, Alec, we'll go to you for MVP. Who you got this week?
I will say I didn't have him on the list, but his teammate Garrett Wilson had like 8 catches for 162. So he had a great game as well. Honorable mention. But Jalen Hurts, who you talked about a couple times, 380 yards, 3 touchdowns. That Tennessee secondary is vulnerable, and they took advantage of it.
Correct.
And got AJ Brown the revenge game. I have AJ on here as well, 8 for 119 and 2 touchdowns himself. They were dominant together. Geno Smith continues to put together MVP level of play this year.
Can you credit him for barely getting past the Rams though?
You can for like his play only. Like him and the receivers like played well. The defense is really bad for the Seahawks recently.
Correct.
They gave up 40 the previous week. Was that to the Raiders? Yeah, they lost to the Raiders. They gave up like 40 in that game as well.
I think Kenneth Walker, I believe, was hobbled now, so they're trying to find out how to manage that backfield a little bit. So that could play its part. But yeah, it's been up and down for them.
So the struggles are not on Geno. He had 367 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Right.
He's been consistently very good this season, and he might just be very good. Like some people thought it was kind of a fluke, but it seems like he's improved as a QB. And
he's kind of stride. Yeah.
CMC on here. We talked about that matchup against the Dolphins that they had was a big one. He had 66 rushing and then 8 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown receiving. And I think he's going to be even more of a focal point now with Brock Purdy. They're calling him Mr. Irrelevant because I believe he was the last pick in the draft.
Yeah, he was.
So he's going to be depended on more for more dominant performances like this one. And then last 2, Devontae Adams, who you mentioned, 8 catches, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's been dominant all season in that discussion for best wide receiver in the league still.
Correct.
And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, your Trojan.
I was waiting on winning the Lions, boys. Them Lions went off against the Jags. I told you, in golf we trust. I told you.
I guess so. 11 catches, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. They put up a 40-piece on the Jaguars, who are confusing to say the least, the Jaguars, week in, week out. But who would I say was the most dominant this week?
Can I mention a couple real quick before you vote?
Sure.
And a couple I hate to mention, but I had to. First off is Brady for the comeback in the last moment versus the Saints on Monday.
Wasn't great, but typical Brady.
280 yards, 2 touchdowns. So yeah, I wanted to mention him in there, and then 2 more actually. One, I couldn't figure out what player to point out, so I said Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. The Steelers getting past the Falcons. As we said, the Steelers are a team that you can't fully count out. Maybe not as they're not contenders this year, just as a good team each week that you can't take lightly. They put up another valiant effort and find a way to hold on versus the Falcons to get the job done.
They had it sounded like a home game in there.
Yeah, and potentially could be on track to go over 500 yet again. It's a tough schedule to end it, but they could find a way. The Ravens, Panthers, Raiders, Ravens again, and the Browns. They have to win. Yeah. I think like 3 of those to get over 500, which I think with them and rivalry games and stuff in between there is possible. So just want to salute him. I know he's on the opposite side as a Ravens fan, but seeing what he continues to do with teams that are supposed to be down and out, making them relevant still each year, has to be praised. And the last one I thought you were going to mention, the Bengals defense shutting down your boy Mahomes.
Bengals defense. They played really well.
They played very well. They only let Mahomes get 1 TD. Kelsey went 4 for 56, no touchdowns. We've seen him have the opposite. He's had 4 touchdowns in the game. So Kelsey was pretty much neutralized this game, and the Bengals won that game. So I was waiting on some Bengals note. I know Mahomes is your boy, so
I mean, I thought about putting,
but I had to mention them too.
I thought about putting Samaji in there because he had a great game.
Sure.
Once again, and people are like, this is why he was in on 3rd down in the Super Bowl instead of Mixon. He's been really good for them in Mixon's absence. So credit to him. But no, I didn't have the Bengals defense on there. They played really well. They've been playing a complete game of football, that Bengals team, and looked like one of the top teams in the AFC after beating the Chiefs. We'll talk about.
Correct.
I guess I'd say Devontae with 177 and 2 touchdowns is pretty dominant performance. I mean, he played better himself than some of the quarterbacks I mentioned and not him. So, yeah, I'll give it to Devontae.
I'm fine co-signing that. I know I mentioned other teams that I just wanted to make sure we're included. But Devontae, as I said, always when we say him, it's about dominance. And Devontae, nothing you can do with Devontae, man. He's still 1A right now in the league in my eyes. So, yeah, salute to him for that. So, great stuff with the him zone. And the last thing I wanted to mention is I said to start the show, not exactly NFL stuff, but XFL is going to be back. They just announced that they are relaunching and unveiled their 8 teams and their jerseys on Wednesday, and great stuff going forward. As I said, RIP to the Wildcats. I guess I have some vintage merch now because they won't be around this upcoming season as they've been replaced. And the 8 teams that are going to be here this year are the Arlington Renegades, the DC Defenders, the Houston Roughnecks, the Orlando Guardians, the San Antonio Brahmas, who replaced the Wildcats, the Seattle Sea Dragons, the St. Louis Battlehawks, and the Vegas Vipers. You want to pick your team now as that you're rooting for? Or how are we doing this?
I don't know. Roughnecks is a trash team name though. What was you said? One of those teams, like I didn't understand what the mascot's name was, but I forget now. It was
I'll go one more time. Arlington Renegades.
Yeah.
DC Defenders.
Okay.
Houston Roughnecks. Orlando Guardians. San Antonio Brahmas.
No, that's what what? San Antonio what?
I heard that name before. I don't know exactly what it is. I feel like it's something obvious.
San Antonio.
So far, all I see is that the Brahma is an American breed of chicken. I think that's wrong. Wait.
I mean, it might be. I don't know what a Brahma is.
I'll try to find it real quick. Oh, it's like some kind of cattle or something like that. This is gonna be bad for all the Midwest folks that watch this. Like, oh, these LA folks don't know what a Brahma is.
They gonna get on our heads on TikTok.
Brahma, it's a bull, I guess. It's like some kind of bull or something like that, I guess. But yeah, that's San Antonio. Whatever.
We'll have to do a poll on this clip. Do you know what a Brahma is?
Do you know what a Brahma? Yeah. Do you know what a Brahma is? Let us know. So yeah, there's that. The Seattle Sea Dragons, the St. Louis Battlehawks, and the Vegas Vipers. So yeah, you pick the team yet?
I like the alliteration of the Vegas Vipers, so we'll go with them.
I'll do the same thing. Yeah, I'll go with
rolls
you.
off the tongue well. So
yeah. So the Pies rolling with the Vegas Vipers as our new squad going forward. Excited to be a part of the family. Excited to see how things go.
I will not be loyal to the Vegas Vipers. I'm just letting y'all know.
Probably not. We'll see who's the best team and roll from there. Adjust accordingly. But we'll ask this though. We were following the Wildcats a little bit when they were playing. We did go to a game and watch a little bit. When it returns this time around, we consistently watch the XFL.
No, but I will tune in because they had some interesting wrinkles to the game, like some of the rule adjustments that they have, like on the kickoff and conversions and that kind of thing. What cool concepts, but I'm not sure exactly what it would take to draw me in. Probably some names that are more household
names. Well, I'll say to answer, I'm going to be watching. I think the timing of it after the NFL season. I know basketball is going to be full swing. We're definitely going to be talking about all of that. But wanting more football at the time, there's going to be no other football stuff on at that point. So wanting to see some decent games around that time of the year, that will be on. It definitely could fill that void. So we watched a little bit when it was around last time, and couldn't wait for it to come back. And we're hoping to see more Wildcat games. Wildcats won't be around, but I'll tune in for the Vipers and others when it comes back around this next time. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes from there. So yeah, I'll be around for it.
Sign Baker Mayfield, and we got some action. And
Exactly. Sign Baker, and we really get cooking there. So yeah, fun stuff with all of that. Excited for the Expos return. Excited for everything going on with the NFL as well, as we discussed. And the last thing for the episode right now is our quick picks. We're back for Week 14. A lot of good matchups this week. A few rivalry games. I have some questions to ask this time around and good things. Real quick, going back to last week, we actually both went 11-4 or 10-4-1 because of Commanders and Giants side. So how do you want to count that? We both tied last week with the same picks. So good stuff there. Not going this week, certainly going to be fun stuff. So Week 14, quick picks. Starting off Thursday, Raiders at Rams. Raiders at 6.5 points.
I'll go with the Raiders. Yeah,
going with the Raiders as well. I guess I'll ask this because we both said Derek Carr's time was cut short early on in the season. It was going to be over soon. But seeing the resurgence, the Derek Carr era has been revived in Vegas.
I just laugh every time you call it the Derek Carr era. It's such a nasty era.
Yeah, so is it over or is it going to last a little longer?
I think if they have the ability to draft a elite QB prospect, I think it's over. But he's fine. He's like slightly above average QB. So I don't think they're like in a rush to move on from him. They've been very banged up, and he's been good with the connection to Devontae Adams, especially of late. So I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I don't think he's a Super Bowl winning one necessarily.
Right.
Yeah, so that they could do much worse. So I don't know if it's over necessarily, but
yeah. I thought it for sure it was. I said it was early on in the season, but seeing that he's finally fully managed that or established that chemistry with Devontae, I think we'll keep him around at least for another year or two. I think he already was on contract either way, but it seemed like they're going to clear house at some point. There were rumors that they were going to fire Josh McDaniels, but couldn't because of money things or whatever was going on there. So it seemed like they were going to clear house at one point, but they have righted the ship a little bit. So I think in doing that, it may have saved Derek Carr in Vegas for at least another year. So we'll see how that all goes forward. But yeah, it's going to be Derek Carr is going to be around one way or another. So it's what it is. Going forward, Sunday, Vikings at Lions. Lions at home are given 2.5 points.
A little bit surprised by that. The Lions have been playing really well in the last few weeks. The defense has been a little bit better too. The Vikings are frauds, so this would be a perfect chance for the Lions to take advantage.
Somewhat of a rivalry game, I believe, right?
They should have beat them the first time they played. They lost by 3, I believe.
Yeah.
My head kind of says Vikings, but I want to go Lions here. I think they split with them.
Hey man, they didn't believe, but Goff did. I'm going with Goff too.
The Vikings probably struggle a little bit defensively, like getting pressure, and the Lions keep a pretty clean pocket for Goff as well.
Correct.
So I'll go with the Lions here.
Yeah. Hey, in Goff we trust. I'm rolling with you. And then to that point, because you mentioned the Vikings being frauds, what would make the Vikings true contenders?
A better quarterback.
That's it.
The defense is an issue too, but a better quarterback would have me more confident in them, I think.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll see if they ever fix that. So interesting things going on there. Moving on. Ravens at Steelers. Steelers at 2.5 points.
I think I'll go with the Steelers here. Yeah.
I'm gonna take Huntley in that. I mean, I have to. I'm a Ravens fan. I have to go with my boys in this game.
Yeah.
But I do see the threat the Steelers are. But yeah, I think the Ravens can find a way in this game with the defense still being solid as it is, and can hold them off to get the win there. And then the question I wanted to ask is the Ravens Steelers the best team rivalry in the NFL still?
Best team rivalry in the NFL? I'm just trying to think of what the other rivalries really are.
Raiders Chargers kind of is right now.
Kind of.
The
Niners Rams was kind of one, right?
Yeah, that's more recent. More long term. I think there was times like the Packers and the Niners was kind of a thing, right? Stuff like that was going on.
Yeah, because of Super Bowl, early Super Bowls.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of like that. But I think the Ravens Steelers has been the one team wise that has lasted the longest. I think a lot of other ones were kind of based on players. Like even now, like I think when we say rivalries, like Mahomes and Burrow or Burrow and whatever, it's more
I'd say
like
that's the best right now because those are like two talented teams and they have history now that he's beaten them 3 times, Burrow. But
yeah, I think that's more of a player based thing. I think no matter where Mahomes and Burrow are, I think it's going to be that rivalry. But I think Ravens Steelers, no matter who was on that team, like even this week, even though it's Huntley versus Pickett, folks are still up for this game as a 10-1 because of who the two teams are. So that's, I guess, the caveat I snuck in there. This like team rivalry, I think that keeps it at the top.
Yeah, I would say it feels like, kind of to your point, that the NFL doesn't really have like those big rivalries like that. It is more like based on the players, and the players move a lot. So it's more so based on players than it is the teams, kind of, to me.
Actually, let me be careful.
Divisional rivalries for sure still exist, but
yeah, but even in that, even though it's divisional, it also is a big one. Cowboys Eagles has been a big one forever, and they are definitely tripping each other a whole lot these days. So they they actually might be the top ahead of us. I'll be okay with that. But I would say good or bad, one that's always been the teams getting up for fans and alike and all of that. I think Ravens Steelers are neck and neck with that one as the best rivalry. So yeah.
Seem like the rivalries definitely like are more solidified in like college that have like program histories like that. And
students more involved, a lot more trash talking, all that stuff. NFL's getting back to that a little bit. There are a few teams that are maintaining that energy, but yeah, it's a lot more player based when it gets up to that level. So it is what it is. But definitely excited for Ravens Steelers on Sunday. It's going to be a fun one to watch. So good stuff there. Another divisional matchup: Browns and Bengals. Bengals at 6 points.
I think Burrow's like 0-4 against the Browns or something like that.
Low key, yeah.
I think he gets this one though. I think the Bengals are trending in a very good direction. They do have a bit of a tough schedule, including this Browns game, the divisional opponent with Deshaun back. I think Deshaun will have a better performance. I don't know if it'll be good, but as I said, that run offense is very good with Nick Chubb. So, but I really like how this Bengals team is playing. So I'll go with the Bengals.
I'm going Bengals as well. And the question I want to ask that you might like, Joe Burrow still underrated? Yes or no?
That's tough. I feel like it's tough to say underrated because he does get credit, but there is a lot of Burrow hate too for some reason.
There's a little bit of Burrow hate. People still have him in a tier that he clearly is ahead of a lot of guys. They put him in the same tier as like Herbert and like Tua sometimes.
Right.
RD has done a whole lot more than they have.
Slightly underrated because, like I said off air, there's a conversation. He's been the second best QB this year, so slightly underrated. Yeah,
got it. I think I'm gonna agree with you as well because, there are some guys.
Jamar Chase Merchant too, but he was good without Jamar.
He was good without Jamar, still winning games. There are guys that are above him that might have fallen below him that people won't fully acknowledge yet. There are guys, again, they put him in a tier below that he shouldn't be, where he's clearly above a lot of the guys that are next to him in that case. So yeah, I'll say he's still, I guess, slightly underrated there. So moving on, that's a good one. Jets at Bills. Bills at 9.5 points.
Good game. Jets beat them the first one.
Yep.
Mike White's been good. I'm gonna say Bills just because I don't think they lose twice to the Jets. But I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets pulled this one out. But I'm gonna go Bills.
Wouldn't be shocked, but I'm gonna give it to the Bills slightly just because they're at home this time. The Jets were at home when they won their game. I think the Bills at home also coming out knowing they lost last time. We're gonna want to right that wrong. So yeah, I think the Bills get that done. And then 2 questions, one for each team. Zach Wilson is done with the Jets. Yes or no?
It looks like he should be.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know that Mike White is like their quarterback of the future, but he's
he's
better than him right now.
Correct. So, with a lot less of a headache and the full support of the team. They keep raving about him, even the loss last week.
Right.
Like, I love Mike White. So clearly he's that guy. So I think Zach Wilson's time.
Done in New York. I don't think done for good.
No. I'm just
he definitely has an opportunity to get another starting job.
Surely.
Like Baker.
Right, exactly. So I think he's done with the Jets there. Then for the Bills are no longer contenders now that Vaughn is out for the season. Yes or no?
That's how I feel, because I feel like their defense already wasn't to the top echelon that it was in previous years. So I think losing that, like when it comes down to like you're splitting hairs between the best teams in the league, when you get deep into playoff runs, you need a sound defense. Like you need a top 10 defense to win in those situations, and I don't think they're going to be able to do that this year. So
I think they still are contenders without Vaughn, and I know how impactful Vaughn is. But seeing the pieces that are still on that defense, and yes, it's going to take some guys stepping up. But to your point about needing a top 10 type defense to make a deep run still alongside the offense that's there, I think they can still be a very elite defense even without Vaughn there. Now, obviously, Vaughn's was the icing on the cake. So when if they get to the Super Bowl, they might lose because Vaughn didn't make that game-winning play as he kind of did for the Rams and Denver and the things of the past that we've seen. But I think they still have enough talent there to get the job done. Now, if they lose in the first or second round still because of, as I've talked about on the other end, Josh Allen not making the mistakes that he's been making throughout the season that he's been doing, that's another story. But I think the talent is there still without Vaughn to make a deep run.
Yeah, I think I would say right now that we already felt the Chiefs were better. Even losing to the Bengals, I'd still say I would favor the Chiefs in a matchup with them. I favor the Bengals in a matchup with them. And I might favor the Dolphins in a matchup with them, who beat them earlier this year, especially if the defense is not what it was without Vaughn. So, yeah, I like third or fourth best team in the AFC right now to me are the Bills.
I still think they're in contender range. So we'll see how it plays out. So it's going to be fun to see. I think this is a great first test of that against the Jet squad. So moving on, Texans at Cowboys. Cowboys at 16.5 points.
Cowboys, yeah.
One word or a phrase to answer this. The Cowboys not winning Super Bowl this year would be what?
Just winning, like
the Cowboys not winning the Super Bowl this year would be what?
Not winning. I mean, I would say it would be disappointing for their fans, but I don't think that's a disappointment because like they haven't got to a Super Bowl in so long.
My phrase was on brand. Like they had very high hopes and it seemed like they are now a team that very well could be it. We talked about they have high chances of doing so, and we'd like to see the Super Bowl, them in the Super Bowl matched up against any of the other squads in the AFC as a great entertaining matchup. So if they were to get there and lose after all the talk that they've done with everything seeming to fall in line, by the time y'all see this, Odell might be signed as well, so they might have some extra help and things also. So with all things falling in line for them to still lose this year, I think would be just on brand to what we've continued to see from them for the past like 2 decades now. So yeah, that's my word.
Okay. I guess I would say like what America's team deserves kind of thing. America doesn't deserve a win. So I guess that's what I would say.
All right, I'm cool with that. Yeah. Moving on, Eagles at Giants. Eagles at 7 points.
Eagles at Giants. Eagles, yeah. Like we said, the Giants fall off is kind of here. I think they played okay against the Commanders, yes.
Yeah, but they're not the low-key contender type team that people tried to say that they were early on. So I agree. One question, do people flip too quick on the Eagles? And we're kind of in that as well.
Flip too quick as far as
we said that they are kind of frauds in the league, and we said that their 10-1 record or whatever was very misguided because of their schedule, and that they weren't actually be contenders. But they seem to be a legit threat right now. So people flip too quick on them and claim that they weren't as good as we see them to be.
I think they're a fairly well-rounded team, but the schedule to this point has proven nothing to me as far as their wins. So I don't really care what anyone else feels. Like, they're second on my list as far as fraudulent teams in the NFC. Like, the Vikings are the very clear number one fraud to me, but I think the Eagles running into the Niners or the Cowboys are not going to win that game. So that's kind of where I'm at with them. I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're a Super Bowl winning team, though.
I think they can be.
Anyone can be, you know. So.
Well, I see that legitimately. Like, even against the two teams that you mentioned, against the Cowboys or the Niners you mentioned, I think they could put up a really good effort. And I guess also seeing what potential openings could be there versus the Niners not having Jimmy G and things of that nature. I think there's going to be a chance for the Eagles to capitalize that. I think they will do their best to. I think they have a legit chance to execute on. So I'm not fully calling them frauds anymore. So I guess I'll hold the L to my father's enjoyment. He's a big Eagles fan.
Oh really?
Yeah.
shout out, Mr. Thomas.
Yeah.
I'll say too. I don't. Just thinking. Let me pull up the schedule. They don't have an impressive win to me. In my.
Didn't they smacked the Vikings already?
I think that was like week 2 against and the Vikings. That's not impressive to me either. Let's see. Yeah, Lions by 3. Like primetime Kirk, they beat up on. That Cowboys game, I believe, was Cooper Rush.
Yeah. That was peak Cooper Rush though. Everybody was talking about Cooper Rush though.
They almost blew that game to the Colts. Like, they had the game-winning drive. So credit to Hurts on that. Beat the bad Packers team by a touchdown. Yeah, I don't have an impressive win on their schedule yet. Okay. So the last 5 games, they got the Giants, Bears. Cowboys will be the test. And then Saints and Giants again. The Cowboys are really the whole, impressive win. The chance at an impressive win. So yeah.
That's fine with me. So we'll see how it actually plays out. I'm excited to see if the Eagles are legit or not. So good stuff there. Excuse me. Moving on with our picks. Jags at Titans. Titans at 4 points.
Titans. Yeah.
Titans as well. And then question: good running back battle here. Better performance, ETN or Henry on Sunday?
Henry. The Titans are actually good against the run. And I think Henry has a bounce back because he's had a couple down weeks.
Yeah, he has to get back on track.
He exploits his divisional opponents too, so I think Henry has a bounce back.
Superstars like that, you can't hold down too long. I think he's going to find himself back in the end zone and have a good performance, and this may be it. Against the Jags squad who we just saw was very up and down. So, yeah. I think Henry gets it done there. Moving on, Chiefs at Broncos. Chiefs at just 9.5 points.
Chiefs.
Yeah, Chiefs as well. But I will ask this: the Chiefs are no longer the clear-cut favorite, Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just after losing to the Bengals again, I wouldn't bet against Mahomes against the Bengals if they meet again. But
sure. It's been 3 times now. They had his number.
It's hard to beat guys like that many times. And Burrow's
listen to that last game, and then they went out and did it again.
Burrow's done it 3 times now, and Burrow is him. So
also, every game they went into against Mahomes, they've been the underdog. I believe they've always favored Mahomes in those games. Yeah. So every time you count out the Bengals against the Chiefs, the Bengals still find their way to get it done. So I think it's possible.
Yeah, and with the Chiefs not having like the only hole I see is their defense. They don't have elite wide receivers, but Travis Kelce is pretty much a wide receiver 1.
Sure, but we saw what not having that clear outside presence did to them this last game because.
No, this is what I'm saying. Like the defense is the issue, so I'm fine with them not being the clear-cut AFC favorite.
Got it.
I do think that is a concern. The defense, as good as Mahomes is with the defense being limited, that is a concern. Like I said, like you need a top 10 type defense in the playoffs too. So yeah.
He scored a touchdown against the Bengals this last week, and he dove in the end zone. Romo said it was like a Michael Jordan type Space Jam type play. He's going to put on some Michael Jordan type performances potentially this postseason to get the job done. And I think Kelce as his Scottie Pippen can help him in that and get it done. So
they should be gunning for Odell if at all possible. I don't know if he's been if they're on his list.
They were on the list, so it's very possible. I know that Dallas brought out the red carpet, but the red jersey that the
maybe Luka talking about him too.
Yeah, might be more enticing there. So we'll see how that plays out. So yeah, interesting to see how that plays. And to the question, I don't think they're the clear favorite anymore either. So we'll see how it plays. Moving on, Panthers at Seahawks. Seahawks just at 4 points.
I will go Seahawks. I think it'll be close, but I'll go Seahawks.
I'm gonna go Seahawks as well. No question here. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Bucks at Niners. Niners at 3 points.
I will go with the Niners here, even with Brock Purdy at QB. The Bucks have shown us that they're not a very good team this year. They still have Brady, so they still have a ceiling with Brady, but they haven't inspired confidence any week to this point. So I'm gonna stick with the Niners, who I feel like are one of the best well-rounded football teams.
Correct. And then to that, can the Niners make the Super Bowl with Purdy as their QB?
I'll say no. I don't think they can make the Super Bowl. I think they can win a playoff game. I don't think they can make the Super Bowl with him though. That's a tough leap to make.
I thought we were gonna be opposite on that. I thought you were gonna say yes because you have to say a lot of praise for the Niners still. But yeah, I don't think so either because at some point, even though he's been I guess he managed that game really well this last game. At some point, as we saw with Jimmy G with the Niners these last few seasons, you have to make a throw at some point.
Right.
And I don't think Purdy can make that throw just yet. So yeah, that's gonna be the X factor there. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Maybe we're wrong this year with the dominance that defense has, but yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. So good stuff there. Sunday night, Dolphins at Chargers. Dolphins at 3.5 points.
I'll go with the Dolphins.
I believe the Dolphins could put up a great fight, but I think this is truly a must-win for the Chargers. Even though they had a bad performance last week against the Raiders, they might tough it out at home and find a way to get the job done. So also, I think we've had the same pick for each of these games so far.
I guess, has he said anything different than it?
I guess to be different here, I'll see the Chargers in this one and say that Herbert finds a way to get it done. So give me a fun one. And to that point, more valuable right now, Tua or Herbert?
More valuable. Like how are you determining like more valuable?
I guess to their team,
to their individual teams.
Yeah.
I would say Tua, just with them going 8-1 in the games that he started. He's been an MVP level guy. The only thing that hurts that case is that it's conceivable that other guys could do that what he's done.
I believe so.
In his spot. One thing I will say to his credit is that he's like an incredibly accurate, other than last game, incredibly accurate QB as well.
It's so weird too because a lot of his passes are very accurate, but he has plays also that he throws the ball too high.
Yeah.
His deep ball is not good. I wouldn't say really at all, to be honest with you. Yeah. It just works because Tyreek Hill usually is wide open most of the time when he throws the ball downfield.
Right.
I think if you had, I wouldn't say of course not a star. That's not fair. But like a competent starting quarterback in the NFL, I don't know what that would rank as. Like if we go back to our list to say how far of a drop we could go still.
If Derek Carr was there, do you think?
If Derek Carr, for sure. I think they still are right where they are. Just because he can throw the deep ball, as we've seen many times, as he's done with Devontae and others. So I think guys of that nature, if you swap them out, you still
I
get
think
the
that was
same
kind of the
result.
Mendoza line for QBs.
Yeah,
Like
so
Stafford, I guess. Do you think Stafford?
Stafford maybe because he's a brick at this point and can't really move his feet or anything like that. So his no mobility might be an issue there.
Okay.
But I think that most others, I guess that's the breaking point there. Stafford. I think most other quarterbacks in that range could do the same thing with that Dolphins offense that has been clicking as it has. So with that being the case, I think on the opposite side it would be a lot harder for guys to fill in and do what Herbert has done for this team. Even though they do have weapons themselves, clearly the base of that is Herbert and his abilities with his arm talent and mobility and all that the threat that he presents there. So yeah, I think CARR with I guess using that critique, using CARR on the Charger squad, I don't know how well that would be. I think that'd be an interesting one.
How long will Herbert get a pass for having like mediocre season success?
Yeah, that definitely plays. I guess the valuable versus the, I guess I don't know what the other word I'm trying to think of.
Like the actual, like the production, like the wins.
Production.
Yeah,
I think that is only going to last for so long because it's been now 2-3 years now.
They were talked about as potential Super Bowl team and him winning MVP. They had injuries.
Super Bowl, we've had MVP. We've had all types of hope because we see flashes that he does that always when most come up short. So that has to count somewhere. So I'd say a year or two most. I think if you go 5 years straight of you're a Super Bowl MVP and then
I think it's like
one guy
if they have one more
miss the playoffs again.
Yeah,
I think that's it. I think that also is a knock to the coaching. I think that may be where a new coach might get another chance, but they did just bring in Staley recently as well.
That would be coach number 3 for him, right?
Yeah, so that could be another cop out for him or whatever.
At that point, it'll be like, who's the real problem here?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I do
see the talent. We see the talent for sure, but it's like
the talent is there though. So, we'll see how that adjusts going forward. But yeah, I do think the clock is ticking on Herbert to make the playoffs. Like, come on, dude. With that talent, you got to get in there some kind of way. So we'll see if he gets it done. Yeah. Good stuff there. And then lastly, last game Monday night, Pats at Cardinals. Pats at 2 points.
I'll go Pats. Yeah.
I was gonna go Pats too. So
I guess
the last question I'll throw in there, with the Pats turning things around at least somewhat, has Belichick finally shook the can't win without Brady allegations?
I don't know.
Does he need a Super Bowl to prove that since Brady won without him, or is this what he's already done enough?
Super Bowl would prove it the best, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you say no to that for right now, still, even though they've been decent.
Yeah, I think I would say no to that.
Okay. Yeah,
because part of it is like how he's like built the teams too. Like, kind of whiffed on some of the offensive playmakers they tried to get to. Like, he's still a defensive-minded guy, so the defense has been great. But
in my opinion, he whipped a lot with Brady too. But Brady was so good that he just carried that team and just got it done. So so to that question, I agree that no, he has not shook the allegations yet, and Super Bowl is what he needs to do to get over that hump. So I had
a question with that game too, though. Like, how many games before Cliff Kingsbury gets fired? Because
it should have been last week. It should have been.
What I'm saying. Like, how is he still around? I'm kind of getting mad that he still has a job
now. He seems like a nice guy. Like, he fits the picture of what you want a head coach to be, but he hasn't actually produced. But I think the Cardinals like the picture that they still see every day, and that's why they're holding on. But the production, kind of the Herbert thing, has not matched at all. So clock's ticking.
Yeah.
So
maybe they'll be the ones to like make the, because in order to sign Sean Payton, like, you're probably gonna have to give up an asset because he's still under contract.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like, most likely a team will have to give up a draft pick in order to get Sean Payton to sign for them.
So Kingsbury to the Saints. Saints can get Dennis Allen to be their defensive coordinator again, as he was for the
trading coaches. I don't know if the Saints would want Kingsbury. You know, like.
Well, Dennis Allen's not been good either. We had high hopes for the Saints too, and the Saints have not been good. I think they take that in a heartbeat, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah, we'll see. But I think Sean Payton should be in Arizona sooner than later. So yeah, excited to see how that all plays out. That was our last game. That was all the quick picks. Good stuff across the board. Again, our picks are pretty much even this year. We're on the same, or this week, we're on the same page for the most part. I expect winning to be different, but I'm pretty sure our record's going to be the same there going forward. And yeah, excited to see how it all plays. So good stuff there. We said it last week, but we'll for sure be back for sure this upcoming week at some point to have our NBA breakdown. We're going to jump into things with our first quarter of the season, like awards and things. We're like 25 games in. So we'll talk about who are front runners for some awards right now, who's been surprising. We'll have some of our own hyperbole, our him zone type stuff, him zone adjacent type stuff for the NBA to talk about, who's been looking good on the court and all that type of stuff. So yeah, fun stuff on the way there. But excited to talk about all that's going on with NFL and XFL too as that continues to go on. So yeah, good stuff there. Appreciate you guys for tuning back in. Alec, any last words?
No, we're good.
Yeah, so we out of here, man. Again, follow us online everywhere. IG, TikTok, Section.300. Twitter at Section Sports. Subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to us. Follow us on YouTube and all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll see you guys again shortly, man. Appreciate all the love. See y'all on TikTok, as I already said. A lot of good conversations going on there. And yeah, we out of here, man. Peace.
Deuces.